YouTube, Mad Dog here, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I just want to share a couple of helpful tips, you might say, or hints and tricks to people that like to produce their own ferro rods. You know, if you've got a pre-brought blank and you're going to introduce that ferro rod into a handle of some type, things that you can do to help the longevity of that ferro rod and make it durable. So stay with me and we'll have a look round. Okay, so as you guys and lasses hopefully know, that I do sell my own range of ferrocerium rods on eBay, and the latest one obviously is the Mad Dog Monster 5" by 1/2 inch ferro rod, which throws off a good shower of sparks with the ceramic striker. Now, especially with bigger ferro rods, this is an important thing. As you can probably see on the bench behind me, I'm just currently working on another handle for another one of my Mad Dog Monsters, and obviously the ferro rod is going to be going inside of that handle. So a couple of things that I would recommend. This is just my opinion, it's not gospel, you know, it's only through trial and error that I think that this is valid. You guys and lasses do whatever you think is better, or whatever works for you basically. So whether you're making a handle out of wood, bone, you know, like antler or something like that, ceramic, you know, glass fibre, whatever your choice of material may be, Kydex even, what I would suggest is when you drill your hole for the size of the diameter of the ferrocerium rod, I always drill mine oversize, not by a lot, so that I get a fit that is just headache loose, you might say, with a little bit of compliance in there. And also down the very bottom of that hole, I don't know if this will pick up in here, I've also drilled a small hole that runs a lot deeper, and that'll come into play later on. As for the actual ferrocerium rod, what I do is I take the end that's going inside of the hole. Obviously I've scraped back the black coating, and I filed several flats onto that. And also, I don't know if this will pick up on my poor camera, but also I've cross-cut, just using the edge of a file, almost like rifling, you might say, opposite directions and on the end. And that is purely so that when the adhesive and this come into contact, it gives it a really good key to hold on to, and keeps it secure, especially on the bigger ferro rods where you're going to be, you know, it's weightier and you're going to be applying more load. So as you can see, although these are 5" rods, I do put them in 3/4 to an inch. So as you can see, that to my thumb there is how much goes inside of the hole. Now the hole that I drilled in the wood further down and the flats that are filed, I just do it just with a standard hand file. I've got no flashy equipment, I just literally hold it in my hand and file across. Obviously you've got to be careful where you do this, and I just file the notches in by hand. The flats and the hole in the wood are there so that when I fill this with epoxy resin and I place the ferro rod in, it forces all the air out, and there is an escape route for that air. Otherwise, if it's a perfect size, you know, plug gauge fit, then what happens is you can't compress the air, the fluid, and your ferrocerium will rise out and you're forever pressing it down and clamping, etc. So it's worth making an escape route for the air that will get pressured out as you push your ferrocerium rod in. And what I do then is I basically clamp this in the vise, mark it, eyeball it as square as I can. They are rustic, I'm not going to lie to you all, there's no fancy fixtures or anything in here. I do it all by eye, all by hand, and that's why they're time consuming, but it also makes them, in my opinion, different. They're a little bit, you might say, characterful for a word. Each one is different, you know, unique. No two are the same. So moving on to the actual adhesive itself. this again is just my opinion based. You can't beat the proper real deal. So for me it's always the Araldite, the twin pack Araldite, not the cheap equivalent, because I haven't had much success with it, so I'm sticking to the real deal. This stuff isn't cheap. I believe this stuff retails, I pay about £6 I think for a kit, and normally I get what, four big ferro rods, maybe 5, plus a couple of my 8 mil by 80 mil ferro rods that I also produce. I get a couple of those made out of a tube of this. Excuse me. Just been to the dentist, so I've still got bits of junk and rubbish in my mouth. So yeah, absolutely don't skimp and scrape on your adhesive. Use the genuine good branded stuff. It will pay dividend in the end, in my opinion. And don't be skimpy with the amount. Again, giving that compliance in there will allow a coating of that adhesive to be all the way around, so you're not forcing it down to the bottom, etc. You've got room for it to sit. What else can I tell you? Obviously I've got my paracord lanyard here made up ready. So I'll give you a little story now. So obviously you guys and lasses, you've seen these handles finished along with the ceramic striker. This is my prototype beat up old thing. When they're finished, you get something, do excuse me, that's, you know, sort of reasonably stripy, oiled, and you know, I finish it the best as I can in here in the shed with basically sandpaper. I do it all by hand. I cut the wood out with a knife. It is my Mora 511. I'll pan down later on and show you. I then proceed to sand it down to shape all by hand. It does take a long time, but that's what this is all about for me. So the wood itself, a little story. So the wood, I call it tiger wood. It's a high resin pine wood. If you do shave it and scrape it, it does burn very well, and it should do, because this is the honest truth. That wood came from, as far as my knowledge goes, it's at least from the 1950s, if not the late 1940s. So it's old stuff. Now, the reason it's that old is, I'll give you the background of this stuff. My granddad, my dad's father, after the Second World War, he went to work in basically a service station. When I say he went to work there, he owned a service station in a place called Belper in Derbyshire, not far from where I live. Just up the road a little ways from a famous pub called the Hurt Arms, on the opposite side of the A6. There used to be a service station garage. It's been knocked down now, and unfortunately there's a I don't know, Chinese restaurant or something built in its place. Anyway, I digress. So my granddad used to run this gas station, service station, breakdown recovery garage. Very good mechanic, very, very good engineer, my granddad was. Great character. He used to do stand-up performances of old Jolson in the pubs, and he was a bit of a character, my granddad was. Anyway, so out of that service station came one of my granddad's benches, which he moved to Derby later on in life, and he took that with him into his garage. And after my granddad's passing, my dad was sorting through all his possessions, and basically he deemed the bench no good. Basically it was rickety and worn out, so he broke it up and asked me if I wanted the wood for firewood. So I said yes, obviously, and I got the wood home, and when I started to strip back some of the layers, I found that lovely stripy, you know, texture that it has. So I'm messing about with my knife and my ferro rod, and I found that it takes a spark quite nicely as well. So by this point I'd already burnt most of it, so I've only got a bit of it left. So this wood that I do make the ferro rod handles out of is from my granddad's 1950s to 60s service station. It's a place called Ambergate in Derby. So for me it has a personal attachment. It's not just a piece of wood, and some of it, he was big into maintaining everything. He overdid everything, he over-engineered everything. Some of it was painted white, like this piece here, this piece that I've cut off just to show you. So in some of the handles, and I mean painted, when he painted something, he painted it. So some of the material, when I'm carving it, you'll see a little white vein of this paint where it's sucked in, you know, the good old-fashioned stuff before all this modern water-based shite, you know. In some cases, you'll see flashes of that white. So if any of you guys and lasses have broke any of my monster rods, I think this one's got some in it, and there is a flash. I don't know if this will pick up. I've not sold this one because of this fault in the wood. Excuse me. You can see the flash of white there. That's my granddad's paint. So whilst I can sand it all completely out, which, you know, it's no big deal, every so often that little witness line I like to keep on there because it's it just makes it that more personal to me. So now you know that little story, where the wood comes from, and you'll also know from that that it's not a forever, never-ending supply of wood that I use. So limited edition, you might say. That's where it comes from. That's the story behind the Mad Dog Monster tiger wood. So probably bored you all to death with that, but it's just a little bit of a personal thing for me. My granddad was a great character, a fantastic engineer, very clever bloke. He was part of the Harrier jump jet flying bedstead experiment at Rolls-Royce many years ago. He was one of the first team to have that accident whereby obviously the jet engine actually took off on the test frame, which resembled a bedstead. That's why it became known as the flying bedstead. And my granddad was part of that team. My dad, my father, he also worked for years at Rolls-Royce. He's retired now, and as I do now at the moment. So we're 3 generations of long service at Rolls-Royce. Yes, my granddad, very good engineer, and you know, sorely missed. My grandma, my granddad's wife, bless her, in June of this year turns 100. 100 years old. She's in a nursing home, bless her, because she's not of well health, but she looks like she's going to make the centenary, so excellent. 100 years old, how cool is that, eh? Anyway, I'm digressing. I'm not going to give you all my whole family story. So I'm just going to pan around now, show you my little mess on the floor, just to show you guys and lasses that I genuinely make everything here in the shed all by hand or by my own hands. Hence, no two are ever the same. And yes, they're going to be a bit rough and ready in places. They're rustic, you know. Give me some leeway, guys and lasses. I haven't got a lathe. I don't do anything by machine. Everything is literally by hand, the hard way. So I'll just pan you around onto the floor, show you my little board with my shavings and everything on there, and then I'll leave you all in peace for now. So hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you find some of these ideas useful. You know, if you're making your own gear, it is worth, in my opinion, sticking with branded goods when it comes to stuff like the adhesives, etc. And take your time. The preparation will pay dividends long term. It will give you a more reliable product. You know, a lot of these cheap ass things, within a couple of uses, the ferro rod will come out of the handle, and you know, you can tape them up and do all that good stuff, but it's nice to have something that's nice and that lasts a long time, and that's what I'll try and do. So anyway, take care. I'll see you all soon, which won't be long. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, please go and have a go at my Mad Dog Mystery Box number 2 giveaway on my previous video. So have a great weekend, what's left of it. I'll see you all soon. Mad Dog signing off. Yeah. I'm just panning you around here a little ways. The pegs on the line, that's where I hang my Mad Dog fire wicks to dry. Just simple, dead basic, but it works. Some sandpaper down there, and as you can see, I've just got a chopping board on the floor, piece of old worktop, and these, as you can see, with a white paint as well, are the chip-ins of the tiger wood, and that is basically how I do it. I just take my old Mora, carve away, sand. The only machine that I use for this entire operation, you might say, is a cordless drill to drill the holes. Other than that, everything is done by hand. So that's why they're so damn time consuming. But anyways, Thank you all very much for watching and your continued support as always. Take care out there. Have a great weekend. See you all later. Mad Dog signing off again. Yeah.